Let me show you how to make these rich and buttery mincemeat shortbreads. This shortbread is a great alternative to mince pies. I don't know if anyone else agrees, but the mince pies this year have not been as good. As with my previous recipes, these were served in the cafe and they always went down super well. One day we did an offer on these, so get these with a drink and they'll be cheaper, and they sold out pretty much instantly. This recipe is really nice because it's quite simple. You can do this by hand too, it's just that I don't like the feeling of like flour and butter in my hand. That's why I don't like making pastry by hand. If you have a food processor or a mixer, this is very easy. Right, let's get into it. I've preheated my oven to 160 degrees Celsius and I've quite badly grease and lined my tin. This is an 8-inch by 11-inch tin. So to your mixing bowl or food processor, add the plain flour, corn flour, caster sugar and butter. I always struggle with putting the attachment on the mixer. I've done it so many times and I can never get it right first time. If you're doing it in a mixer, put it on the lowest speed, and if you're doing it in a food processor, I would pulse this. We want it to form a dough. I would say it's probably quite a soft dough. I like to do this until there's hardly any streaks of butter and flour, and then finish it off by hand. I find this helps in not over mixing it, in not overworking the dough. And then in the grease and line tin, we're going to pour off half the dough. And then we want to press this down quite firmly. We also want to get this even as well. I'm not really sure the best technique to do this. I tend to just punch it, slap it, use the palm of my hand. I also tried using a potato masher here, but that didn't really work. For the mincemeat, I'm using this brandy mincemeat from Aldi. I've never had this one before, so it'd be interesting to see what it tastes like. I don't bother making my own mincemeat, but use your own if you do. When using a supermarket mincemeat, I like to taste it, see if it's missing anything I can add into it. So I tried this and I really like the alcohol flavour in it. I don't need to add any. What I do feel like it's missing is a little bit of citrus and a little bit of spice. I'm nearly using the whole jar, so I might as well just finish it off. After watching a few of my videos, I'm sure you've probably got the gist that I'm quite blasé about things. I'm very, that'll do. So to add the spice, instead of using a spice mix, I found this cinnamon syrup. I'm going to add in a couple of teaspoons of this. The consistency of the mincemeat was quite jammy, so along with zest, I'm also going to be putting in a little bit of juice. So here I am adding in the zest. I need to get a new grater. This one is awful. And then for the juice, I put a sieve over the bowl and then juice the orange. I'm not juicing it all because I don't want too much. And then giving it a mix. Even if you don't add anything to the mincemeat, I would still mix it to loosen it up and make it easier to spread. Now that's done, we're going to be pouring it onto that first layer of shortbread. To spread it out, I'm just using the back of the spoon, but you can use an angled palette knife to be a little bit neater. And then it's time to crumble on the rest of the shortbread dough onto that layer of mincemeat. I like to do a mix of bigger, chunkier bits and then small, crumbly bits. It does spread out a little bit while cooking, but I find doing this gives it a bit more of a rustic look. Once the rest of the dough has been crumbled on top, I like to use my fingers just to spread out that top layer and then fill in any gaps. So this is what it looks like. If you want to be fancy, you can put on like flaked almonds or hazelnuts or something, but I like to leave it as it is. So we want to bake this in the oven for about 45 to 50 minutes. It may take 55. We want it to be nice and golden on top. So I've just taken it out of the oven, and while it's hot, I want to sprinkle on some Demerara sugar. You can use granulated, golden granulated caster sugar. This is just my favourite one to use. You only want to use a couple of tablespoons. Sprinkle it all over on top while it's hot. Now this has cooled fully, I want to put it in the fridge. I like to do this just because it makes it easier to cut. You want to put it in there for about half an hour to an hour, just so it firms up a little bit. So this has been in the fridge for about an hour. It's quite cold now, it'll be a lot easier to cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a knife and then I'm going to trim down the sides that I've exposed to the tin. This is quite heavy, so it does need a bit of help with getting out. I'm probably going to cut it into 15, I think, maybe 12. I decided to cut these into 12 because one, it's an easier number to divide this into, and also I wanted nice chunky big portions. To try and make these look neater, I like to wipe the knife with a
bit of kitchen roll after each cut I make.
Here's what the shortbread looks like. Got that lovely buttery shortbread sandwiching the mincemeat in the middle. Mine's gone a little bit moist, a little bit soft because I added in that orange juice. I guess it's time to try one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you make these. Let me know if you did anything different to them. I love bouncing ideas off of people. I am sharing these with other people, but I might sneak a couple of slices just for myself.